Welcome to the Produce Consulting Private Limited. In this video, I will demonstrate how the Subcontracting Bundle works in Odoo, how it helps to manage manufacturing and subcontracting operations efficiently. This bundle integrates with the job orders, cost sheet integration, change order, deliverable tracking, digital signature, portal access for subcontractors. Let's take the example of the sales order. We have already customer project, construction of parking lot. We added some extra services, subcontracting services, flooring services, concrete work. Based on the quotation, we will confirm and project will be created. This configuration, you can add the Odoo default configuration if you wish. The project is created. You can add the multiple tags and everything. You can also link the task with the project. Under the settings, we have already invited portal users for all the internal users. It will help us to give the access to subcontractor for the portal. Now we added here the billable, as well as we have options here, retention applicable. If you agree or you have the contract with the customer related to the retention, you can add here retention percentage for each of the payment. It will be deducted as per the agreement. Add the total contract amount. If you have added the total contract amount, we can add here percentage of the retention amount, as well as you can add the retention date also. Now here we can add the total amount of our contract. Save. Based on this project and our BOQ, we can add or we can create the cost sheet. This job cost sheet will help you throughout the project to check your actual expenses versus your planned expenses, or your planned purchases versus your actual purchases. How it will work, let's see. We have the job cost sheet which we are going to create from the project. You can create it. We have the smart button, as well as we have the separate menu here, jobs. From the jobs, job cost sheets, you can create from this menu. Let's see. We will create from here parking lot, construction. Here we can add the job order. This can be a task. Customer, we can link the customer. Now we can add the other details. We have here three types of expenses: major expenses, material, labor and overheads. We can add all the material lines, we can add the labor line and the overhead. Let's add some of the material line for the example. Job type, material, we can add here cement 50 ton. We can add the material steel structure. After material, we can add the labor. This can be multiple labors. Now here we have two options. If you want the flexible UOM for the labor, you can select here. If you need the generic, then you can select the generic. Then it will allow you to select the multiple UOM on the labor tab. But if you wish only hourly based, then in this case you need to just select the hourly based option here. So it will consider all the hours, and it will plan hour will be matched with your actual timesheet hours. So both options are available. Now here we will add the labor product, painting labor, in this case we can add the unit. Okay, 1000. We can add the multiple other details. Extra labor, we need the 120 hours. For the extra labors, each hour will be 30. We can add multiple labor services if we wish. Flooring, we added the flooring services. Yes, if you want, you can add as a flooring services also as a subcontracting. Now, if it is R base, you can add the R's also for the services. Okay. Now we have the overheads. This overhead, you can add the multiple overheads, like here we have the overheads option where we can link the product. Now in this product can be the documentation or a rental or equipment hired. You can add the multiple items over here. Let me add just quickly overhead few of the items. The multiple overheads, if we wish to add the transportation, we can add the transportation over here. If you want to add the some of the subcontracting services as the overhead, this also you can add as a overhead or you can add as a labor. It depends on your requirement. Like here we have the concrete work. Let me just add here concrete work 1 unit. This is charging us. Okay. So we added all the plant quantity. We added the cost, and here we have the summary of all the costings. So this is basically give us the clear picture for your plant cost and then your actual purchases, your actual vendor bills. As well as we added one more options here, subcontractor, actual quantity. Let's see how it will work. So job cost sheet is generated. Based on this, we will be asked for the approval to concerned department. Confirm. Once it is approved internally, we can use this cost sheet throughout our project. It will be a 6 month, 5 month or year. This cost sheet will be marked with all the details. Let's see how it will work. Now we have already job order. Let's go to the job order. We have the separate menu jobs, job cost sheets available here. We just created here. Now we have the job orders. This job orders basically the task in the system. So we have already initial work we created, setup of site, project we need to be select here, Mr. Joseph parking lot. If you wish, you can add the milestone and other details. Ending date we can allocate here and deadline. Now here we have all the details. Select subcontractor hours spent on job cost line based on job order or based on deliverable lines. So this also we have the options available here. Let's see how it will work with the subcontractor. Now here we have the different tabs available. Material planning, if you have some planning of the material for this task, we can add all the material planning. Subtask can be added, consume material, material requisitions and all. Now few services for our related to the subcontractor. In this case, we are going to create the subcontractor job. We have the button here, create a subcontractor job. We can add here initial setup of site, or we can add here concrete work. We need to select the responsible and multiple subcontractor. We can select here multiple subcontractor, like here we can add. Now here we can add all the details of the job description, concrete work and size of 1 meter. We can add multiple details here If we want to add some drawings or something, that also we can add. We can attach all the details here. If we have other details, we can attach the files and other details, and then we can create in the system all the details, and then we can create in the system. Create. Now here we selected 3 subcontractor. Let's create. As soon as I create, my 3 subcontractor order is generated. Job order is generated in the system with 3 different subcontract options as Azure Interior, Beth Evans and Joel Willis. From these 3, we can send them the request of the purchase order. In this request, we already send this request to the subcontractor. Now, if we send them the RFQ from the system, we need to add the other details. If we are going to buy the materials, we can add here material planning. Other details will be added. Like here, we can add the details. We need the bricks. We can add just few of them. We need the 10 ton. If they require cement, we can add here cement. If they require 20 tons or 10 tons, we can add details. So material planning will be added over there. We can add them other details. If any consume materials other than this material planning, we can also add here the consume material. Like here we can add the pedal bin, just for the reference we can add here. Now during this execution, if any material request will come, we will see how it will work. Okay, this will be already linked with our material planning. Now here we have the purchase order lines. We can add here purchase order lines, like once which job is confirmed with the subcontractor. Here we can select the concrete work. We can add the description. We can select the job cost sheet, and then the line also here attached. We require 1 services. If any other services, like here we have the flooring services, so that also we can add here concrete work, and then the quantity we require 120 hours. If any other services like labor, we can also add extra labor we require. We can add here extra labor, and here we can add the extra labor. Here we can add the flooring services. This extra labor also we require 100 hours. Here we require 80 hours initially. We can add it here initially. So these all purchase order lines will be added over here, as well as we can add the material plannings and all. And this purchase order we can generate it in the system as a RFQ. The retention already applicable? Yes, because this retention already applicable on the customer, so it will be applicable on our subcontractor also. So here our RFQ is generated. We can see it is already linked with our job cost sheet and everything. Once we agree with the terms and condition and other retention details and all, we can confirm this RFQ. Now here one thing, let me just confirm it. Retention date, we can add the retention date over here. Let's add the retention date, first date of the retention we can add here. Confirm the order. We already confirmed the order. Now here receipt is generated for other services. Now let's see how it will work. Vendor bill is generated once they will submit their services in the system. This is the contract between the subcontractor and then our company. Now here we have the next option is available. We can go to our job orders. Same logic we will apply for the other vendors also. We can add here, we can open their subcontractor job order, we can add the purchase order lines. If we are also requesting them for the same services, concrete work, we can add the purchase order line and then we can share with them. Based on this, we will receive all the purchase order pricing. Based on this purchase order pricing, let me go to the purchases. We have already here purchase. We have the multiple purchase order for all the subcontractor. Whoever is giving us the best price, we will confirm that purchase order. Here I already confirmed the purchase order of the Joel Willis. Now next we will see how this subcontractor work will be delivered, submitted, and then it will be approved in the system. We have already purchase order which we already confirmed. Here we have job cost sheets which is already linked, job cost lines are linked, and confirm the PO. This PO is basically contract between the subcontractor and us. Now let's see how subcontractor will continue the work and they will submit their deliverables. Let me go to the job order. We created this from the job orders. Now again I will refresh what we did. We have the job cost sheet. From this job cost sheet we have the job order. This job order, initiation of the work, we created here job orders, initiation of the work. In this job order, setup of site, we created few of the subcontractor job orders. These subcontractor jobs, we can create multiple. At the same time, we can assign this job to multiple subcontractors. This subcontractor, once they agree, they said, okay, we can do it, and they will submit the LPO. In this case, the chosen one, we will create the purchase order. Here we have the subcontractor jobs, smart button. We send this work to 3 of the subcontractor. 1 is replied. They all will be notified via the email. We have already here the track of the email. They can also view subcontracting job order. When it is clicked, they can also review the order here like this, concrete work. They can see the attachments also here and other details. Once it is confirmed by the subcontractor, okay, we can go ahead. Then also we will check the subcontractor previous work details and all, and then we will confirm their work. In this case, what we will do, we will create the purchase order, RFQ in the system, then the agreement, and then we can start the work. So you can send this request for the work to multiple subcontractor. From this, you can choose one of the subcontractor who is agree to do the work on your terms and condition. From this, you can also create the purchase order. Once purchase order is confirmed, we can also generate the next stage, the invoicing. We can book the invoice in the system and we can complete the work. Let's see how it will be work next stage. Now here we have the subcontractors menu. We have subcontractors. Here all the subcontractors visible. Then we have the subcontractor jobs. We already make one of the job is confirmed. We create the PO for this job, Mr. Joseph. We have here link the subcontractor task details already. We have here purchase order lines. This is the agreed task which we are agree. The subcontractor will complete. Now here we have the subcontractor job cost sheets. If you wish to create the separate job cost sheet for the subcontractor, you can also create for them, or you can link with the existing one. We have already existing one, we can select here which services we already assigned to subcontractor. We can link here all the cost lines, like here flooring services, concrete work, then the extra labor. Is that any other services or material is linked with the subcontractor, also we can add it here for the better clarity. Now here we already added. Now during the execution of the work, if subcontractor require any of the materials or details, so in this case also they can make the request for the material. Now for the request for the material, we have already available here material planning. This can be also generated based on the material request. Once we create the purchase order, we have the purchase order link here, subcontractor purchases, which is link here and confirm these purchases. Let's go to the material planning. Here we have the separate menu jobs, same as we have the separate menu requisitions. We can give access to subcontractor if they require, or site engineer if they require any material, they can request via the material request or purchase requisitions. Here we can make the department, we can add the requisition responsible. Who is the requisition responsible? If it is a demo, we can add demo. Here we can add the job order. If it is the concrete work, we can also add here the concrete work. Now here you can see one of the concrete work which we already confirmed with the Joel subcontractor. We can add here subcontractor name. Here we can add contractor, subcontractor, concrete work, and construction project. Already it is linked. We can add here requisitions action. Product will be bricks required. We can add here required the 10 ton. Then the cement, we can add it here. This is also 20 tons. We can request. Now here you have two options. The person who requested, he is not aware it is already available in your site or warehouse, or you have to purchase from the third party vendor. The site engineer only request for the material from the site, or subcontractor, they can also request for the material to finish the work if they are providing the labor and other services. Then it will be submitted. Department manager will be approved. Once department manager will approve, it will go to the store manager. Store manager will review all the details. He will check if material is already available, then he can also initiate the internal picking. No need to purchase directly from the vendor. Now here we can select the vendor directly from here. Here also we have the option available. We can send this request for the purchase to multiple vendors at the same time, and we will receive the best price. Now here for the internal picking. For the internal picking, if it is available on site X, we can select here. The source location will be the site X, Y, Z. Right now I have the stock location. Let me select the stock location, and destination can be the site or consumer or physical location, your get one or your warehouse. We can add here. Right now we have the production, so we can just add as a production. Now here we can add the DO. We can add the multiple picking type based on our operations. Once it is added by the store manager, he will approve the request. Once it is approved, he is responsible to create a picking and PO. As soon as create the picking is generated, internal picking. From the stock, it will be released to the site. So once it is done, validated, confirm, and then the mouse is generated. Now here we have the another options available. We can add the other details also. Now here we have already RFQ generated. We can see here purchase order. 2 RFQs are generated here. Whoever is giving us the best price, we can link here our cost sheet. Okay, this is related to the bricks. We can link here our cost sheet. Whoever is giving us the best price, we can confirm with them, like here it is available with 45. We can confirm order, and once it is confirmed and received, it will be in the system. As well, we can also make the vendor bill. Whenever we receive the vendor bill, we can also book the vendor bill in the system. Next, book. You can also link your vendor bill, your PO with the subcontractor jobs. Like here we have the concrete work. We can also add here concrete work subcontractor. We can add the project Mr. Joseph parking lot. We can add the other details, like if we have the analytic distribution, it is already linked with our project. Once we book the bill, we have already here bill is generated. We need to be add the retention date. Okay, if retention is applicable, we can also add here the retention date. Let me just, we have already vendor bill created. Retention invoice line is not added because we did not add the retention on the PO. In this case, we wish we can add the retention line. Here the retention percentage we can define, 5 retention amount we can define if it is available, or just we need to be calculate. We can add the retention date over here, calculate retention amount. Product retention, we need to be linked with the retention product. The good thing is for this product, you can add the services, you can add the account separately, your expense account, you can add it here, retention account separately, which will be added here. This can be type. We can add the current liability. Save and close. Okay. We can add here also retention. Okay. Save and close. So when I make it calculate retention, let me just add it here. We already created the retention product. Let me go to the product, sales, products, retention product. Now here we have already tagged is retention. So I need to be select this option retention product. So it will be available whenever I want to select my retention product, create a retention. As soon as I added the retention, here retention line is added, and then the retention amount is calculated. Here is my retention product. So basically retention is totally linked with your project. If you select the project, then retention will be available on your all the purchases. Now here we have already line added. We can confirm this vendor bill. Let's see how this all are reflected on our cost sheet. I will go to the cost sheet. On the jobs, we have the cost sheet, and when we review, we can see here. Here we have already some of the material which we purchased, like bricks we already purchased. So here we already mentioned actual purchases. Here is the 50 is the plan, but we purchased 10, and already we booked the vendor bill with the 10 quantity. Same as the labor. We can also check the labor. Now here some of the services we allocated to subcontractor, but still it is not reflected because it is not delivered yet. We will see how it will be affected. We have the overhead. Once we book any of the purchases, like here we already make the concrete work, and here we have already created the actual purchases. We still not book the vendor bill for this, so here it is visible my actual purchases. Let's see how subcontractor will submit the work and it will be recorded in the system. Now here we have under the jobs subcontractors menu. We have the subcontractor jobs. We have already subcontractor work is under the negotiation. We can move to the next stage here. We can add to the inspection stage. Once it is under the inspection stage, or we can say the work in progress, they will be submitted. You can manage your all the stages from here. We have the stages configuration, so you can create your own stages from here. Options are available. Now here we have work in progress. Whenever the subcontractor is submitted their work, it will be on their subcontracting job order. Now here we have already purchase order material requisitions, which we already generated based on the request of the purchase. It is also linked with our subcontractor job order. We have here the options available deliverables. If any of the work is deliverables, it will be submitted here. Like here we agree with the concrete work, flooring services, extra labor. So this must be recorded over here as deliverables in the systems. Like here I will add the, let me just add it here, deliverables. Concrete work, you can add the more details here, when it will be started, when it is end, all detail must be recorded over there. Like here I will record it here, job costing. This is the flooring services, so we can add here the flooring services, how many hours are spent, so 12 hours are spent. We can add here the subcontractor work, the actual quantity, how much delivered. So we can record here the subcontractor quantity, it is delivered, like already 12 hours are spent, so we can add here 12 hours. Now here the other details will be we can add, like here we have the other services, flooring, extra labor, concrete work. So we can add the concrete work as well as we have the extra labors. We can add under the deliverables, concrete work. Then the flooring services, flooring done by XYZ. We can add the timeline when it is done. We can also link this with the flooring services. Here it will come the concrete work. We can also link with the concrete work. See, this concrete work is based on the units, so we can add this, we can add here the how much hours are spent, as well as we can add here deliverables concrete quantity. If 0.5 half of the work is completed, we can add here based on this. Now here we have the flooring services, so they already spent 30 hours, so we can add here the planned is 80 and now it is finished the 30 hours, so we can add here subcontractor already done the 30 hours work. We can add here. Now this will be done by the responsible person on the site. Site engineer will update all the details and then he will submit. He will submit it for the inspection to the consultant or the another department. Now here we can add it. Let's save first my changes. Okay. Now once it is submitted, the workflow will be here. It is submitted and it will be approved by the consultant. Once it is approved, it will be reflected over there. Once it is approved, this is the approved. So on my purchase order lines, these are the works which is already given to the subcontractor. They submitted, they delivered the half of the partial work which is we already added under the deliverables. There is submitted button and approved button. Now here we will see on our job cost sheet how it will be reflected. So we have the job cost sheets here, jobs, and here we have some of the flooring services, subcontractor. Yes, we have subcontractor job orders, which is linked here, and 30 hours are already completed. So as soon as it is updated on the deliverables, it will be also updated on our job cost sheet. Now here we have the overheads. Under the overheads we add the concrete services, which is already 0.50. Actual purchase is 1 and half of the work is done. So subcontractor quantity is 0.50. So it is also reflected here. So now it will be more clear. We have also here available all the task for the subcontractor, which is provided, subcontractor job orders, as well as we have all the work done is also available. So it will give you the clear mapping between the subcontractor task as well as subcontractor spent hours and then submitted hours also. So subcontractor deliverables basically linked with our job cost sheet. This feature is very useful for the user to associate it with selected subcontractor hours and their corresponding job cost line directly with the deliverable line in subcontractor job order. Let's see now how the subcontractor portal will be work in this case. Before I move to the subcontractor portal, we have here the print option, subcontracting job order. We can also print this job order for our filing purposes. Here it is downloaded. Subcontracting job order, concrete work is done, subcontractor work in progress, and other details are there. Deliverables will be there. Approved. You can also take a signature on this and then you can confirm the work. As well as we have the subcontractor portal. Let me go to the subcontractor portal. We have here subcontractor portal. I will log in with the subcontractor portal user. Okay, Joel is my subcontractor. So from here I can see all the subcontractor job orders. It is linked here. Related to the subcontractor, all the job orders are listed over there. The subcontractor will review work in progress, new, the stages, as well as he can also check his task, submitted task. Here he can see, okay, this is the plan quantity, this is the subcontractor actual quantity is done, this work is approved. If it is not approved, it will be visible as a draft or it is visible as a submitted only. Now if subcontractor have any query, they can also send the message via the chatter. They can also attach the other document, photograph of the work done in the system itself. So all details will be reported very nicely, as well as subcontractor also print his own document from the portal. So these options also available in the system. All the details are very nicely managed. Change order. If any changes will come in the subcontractor work, we can directly create from the subcontractor jobs the change orders. We have here the options available, change orders. We can go to the change order of the subcontractor and we can create a new order. Here is subcontractor change order. Yes, who is the subcontractor? We can select here the subcontractor. We can select the project also. We can add here who is the guarantor one. So Anita Oliva we can add. Guarantor 2 will be the site engineer. We can add here the site engineer. Okay. We can add the job order. For which job order we are going to create the change order. So in this case we can select here concrete work subcontractor, and here we can add the original date completion and then the estimation of the completion. Still it is not completed, so we can add here the completion of the date responsible users also leave. We can add the change order lines here. For the change order, concrete services, in this case we require the other materials, so we can also request for the other materials, like we require the steel structure from this subcontractor. We can add here one quantity 1, we can add the other details. Here will be the 4. If changes in the requirement or changes in the pricing or any other details will be there, which will become during the execution of the project, we need to create the change order. So we can, if they require the pedal bin or any other details or extra costing will be there, it will be generated as a change order in the system. So now we already generated the change order, we will confirm it. Once it is confirmed, there is the flag also ticked here is subcontractor. Now we have to approve. This approval will be by the project manager. Once approved by the project manager, the site engineer or the responsible person, they will confirm, they will send the email to the customer. Once the customer will review the change order, they will receive the email from the system itself. We have the email here to send to the customer from the system. Once customer is approved, it will be added in the system, customer approved. If it is rejected, then it will be rejected. As soon as it is approved and done, now here create quotation options is visible. From here then we will create the quotation. Let's create the quotation. We will create the quotation here. We have already created. We will send this quotation to the customer with all the changes of the pricing or other extra services. It will be added here as soon as create the change order. Now here we will send this change order to the customer. Once they approve, they agree, then we can go ahead with the next stage. Let me just quickly confirm it. Okay, let's confirm it. Okay, so it is done. My change order is generated based on my extra services done by the subcontractor. Let's see. Now the same options is available. Once the job order is generated, the customer can also, we have the options for the customer access system. Here we have the grant portal access for the customer, grant access. If we don't want this manually click on the customer agreement, then in this case what we will do, we will assign this access to the customer. Let's see how customer will access the portal. Let's log in with the customer portal. We have already customer access. We can log in with the customer portal. If we don't want the manually approve the change order, in this case customer will log in on the portal and he can access under the my account all the details, like here your orders, invoices, invoice details of the customer, as well as the construction change orders. If any change orders, it will be also available under the section of the change order. Here all details will be mentioned there, who is the guarantor and everything. And customer can also see the system email which is sent to him, and now here sign and accept option. So customer can here come to this portal. He can also select here Mr. Joseph or Mr. Sam, who is the responsible. They can also draw or as well as upload their signature. So it is already done by the customer and it is saved under the backend system. Let's see from the other tab. We have already change order. Let me just open change order. We can see here customer signature. Same thing we can also do for the Reason for change, other details also we can add. Here we have the additional information which is also available to review. So like this we can make the change order. Now we will conclude here our demo. Hope it will be cover all your requirement. We have also the options to print the change order. We can also print the change order from here. Here is the change order options available with all the change order line, who is approved. Like here we have all the confirmation and approval signatures are available. Now here one more thing is available. We have the customer information, we have the customer signature. We can add the internal person signature also if you wish. We have also sales order which is also linked to this change order, and you can review it, all the details here. It is also linked with the retention. Now here we have the contracts also for the change order. See, it will be generated, the contract means separate project is generated, analytics account is generated separately. So this all will be linked very nicely with the change order request. Now let's quickly we will see the job cost sheet. Now here we'll see the job cost sheet. Here we have all the details available throughout the project, your actual and your plan, and then the vendor bill is booked. If you want to enhance this functionality with the different options, like you want to see the costing also, price of the purchases, price of the vendor, so separate module is available for that. Now here you can review all the cost lines, all the vendor invoice lines which is linked, as well as vendor purchase order lines. This is the line wise, so you can also generate the BI report very nicely. We have all the cost lines to review. Here is the labor, here is the material and overhead request. As well, we have already job costing options available here. You can review it. All details will be visible, direct materials as well as direct labors, applied overheads, purchase, all the list of purchase order lines and vendor lines will be available. As well, we have the HR timesheet lines. If any timesheets is filled with the options of our project, like here our project is the Joseph, if any of the timesheet and task, like here subcontractor timesheets as well as the consultant timesheets, we can also add it over there. They can also add here job cost sheet 3, and then they can do the extra labor. So 40 hours extra labor is recorded in the system. So it will be also reflected as soon as it is added, reflected on the labor. You can see here 130 is there, and here it will be reflected as an actual timesheet. 40 hours is already recorded, and actual purchases we have already 60. So like this it will be link your HR timesheets as well as your subcontractor timesheets, internal timesheets plus subcontractor work. Everything is nicely managed via the job cost sheet. If you have any query, you can contact us anytime. We are Produce Consulting Private Limited. You can contact on our WhatsApp as well as on email. Thank you very much.